Wow, the end of day two. So what do we make of this? Ganzfeld, curing mice, quantum mechanics, mind over matter. What does this all have to do with leadership? What does this all have to do with us leading better lives and making our lives more worth living? Well, if you think it was complex data, and if you think it was confusing, well, it was, because it is that way. And the connections are not all that obvious. And we took a chance to bring all this to you while the scientists themselves are still trying to figure out exactly where this is going. But if I may try, I'd like to make a few connections between yesterday and today and why this was structured the way it was structured. So first, allow me to quickly summarize what we heard today. We heard about connection, the possibility that each of us are not individuals, that I end here and the universe starts here. Maybe we are all a bit more connected to each other than we think. Maybe mind and matter is connected in ways that we don't understand quite yet. We looked at this morning the limbic system of the brain being the only part of the body that is on the open loop, designed on the open loop system, meaning I can transmit my enthusiasm and energy to you and vice versa. We looked at mirror neurons, which don't understand whether you are doing something or seeing something and the implications of that. We looked at quantum mechanics and mind over matter and whether the mind, if there is any doubt anymore that there is some connection, you only have to look towards what Dean was telling us this morning about the observer effect. That at the smallest particle level, whether you call it a particle or a wave, something that all things and all people are made up of, it is the human observer that decides whether it is a particle or whether it's a wave and how is it going to behave. Now, if that's not proof enough, then what is? We looked at absolutely, how many hundreds of examples of cancer being cured by hands-on healing, energy healing, whatever you want to call it, and many of those under lab conditions. If that's not an example of connection between people, animals, and things, then what is? I loved some of the quotes that Vijay gave us today. Statistics die on schedule. Do you want to be a statistic or do you want to be an anecdote? And what it's all about, trauma becomes a mirror, mindset change equals language change. So is it true that if we change the language of the mind, we can cure our own cancer? Is it true that when we don't succeed at something, first the mind gives up and then it actually happens? And is the reverse also true, that if I can close my eyes, visualize something, believe it, then is there an effect of that happening? There seems to be more evidence right now in the nano and the micro world. Does that translate into the real world? Those are the kind of questions that were raised today. We heard some stories about placebos. I told you the story of Sam Lundy. I told you the story of Janice Schofield. I told you the story of a little guy from India. Is there some truth in any of that? Mario took us through an amazing journey where he talked about altered states. And Dean talked about meditators having more success with all of these experiments. We've heard a whole range of experiments that are trying to, with a scientific lens, study if all of these phenomena are real or not. And it turns out, in listening to Mario as well as to Dean, that people in certain altered states, let's take one of them, meditative states, seem to be having more success. So does meditation have something to do, does stilling the mind have something to do with creating additional mind focus and having more success with all of this? There was a study done some time ago where they looked at, they got a bunch of girls in a room, divided them into two rooms, and told one of the rooms full of girls is that, you girls, it's been scientifically proven that you are weaker at mathematics than men. Girls are just genetically wired because they just cannot do math as good as men, and they gave them false data, and they gave them, a presentation to make them believe that. And the other group of girls in the other room were not given any such data. And their mathematical abilities were measured before giving them this false data. And immediately after, one group was given the false data to make them understand that they are weaker than men at math. They took a math test again, and those girls who were in this room where the data was shown actually fared worse than what they normally fare on similar tests. So is there something about the power of suggestion here? So those are some of the connections that we were trying to make. One last point. In all our research on leadership, we hear one thing constantly from the best of all leaders. When we ask them, what's the secret of your success? Repeatedly, leader after leader being somebody who's created better futures, tells us, I make space for stilling my mind. I make space for myself to quieten my senses and focus. If you look at the health benefits of something like meditation, look at studies from the Harvard Medical School and other places, it's now proven without doubt that 30 to 40 minutes of meditation a day, just focusing on your breath, has tremendous effects on the health. And they've done that with brain scan studies, and there's no doubt about that. So here is a suggestion based on everything that we've heard today. Something seems to be going on with the power of mind. Something seems to be going on with human thought, attention, and intention, and its impact on reality. How it happens, to what extent it happens, is still very questionable. The scientific research is still in its early stages. But it seems that something definitely is happening. There also seems to be some connection that people who are able to get into those altered states, people who are able to still their mind on a regular basis, are more successful with it. At the very least, there is health benefits of doing that, which are totally proven. So, besides clarity of values and purpose, which gives us the baseline of leadership energy, might it be, while we are still waiting for all of this complex data to get more easier to digest and understand, while we're still waiting for all of that, might it be a good idea to try a hand at meditation and to try some sort of something that works for you, with which we can use a way to still our minds, because the data seems to be going in that direction. And that's what all the great leaders are also telling us in our interviews, that they do that in some way, shape, or form. That is as far as we'll go in terms of the connections. I hope that's making some sense. Yeah? So did you enjoy the last 2 days, ladies and gentlemen? Let me try that again. Did you enjoy the last 2 days? Yes. Thank you. May I ask you to give our visiting speakers, this is tough scientific data, and thank you very much for enlightening us. Bill, Mario, Dean, a big hand. Thank you very much. It's not easy. Yes. It's not easy to do the work that they do. There's all kinds of questions that are raised in doing this kind of research, and you have to admire all the years of dedicated hard work they're putting into it and not giving up, which is our theme of leadership over the last 2 days. Now, let me give you one final story. Some of you have heard it, but many of you are new friends, so I'll tell you. It's 2008, September. I'm working for Morgan Stanley, working for the CEO, John Mack, and that Monday, our stock price opens at $55. That Friday of the same week, our stock closes at $6.71, from 55 to 671 in 1 week, in 5 days. What happened the previous weekend, before all of this happened to Morgan Stanley? Well, two things happened. Two of the world's most storied investment banks ceased to exist. Merrill Lynch, gobbled up by Bank of America. Lehman Brothers, bankrupt. So now, the senior leadership team, we are working very hard day and night to figure out, for the last several months actually, and particularly this week, what do we do? How do we save the firm? 671, that Friday evening. The whole market believes that Monday morning, Morgan Stanley is not going to exist, because the whole point was it was a run on the bank, as it happened for Lehman, as it happened for Merrill Lynch. If you run out of cash, that's the end of the bank. And that was expected to happen to Morgan Stanley on Monday morning. Our senior leadership team hadn't gone home for almost a week. Our COO was sent to hospital with chest pain. He's fine, nothing happened to him in the end, but you can imagine the level of stress in the room. And I will never forget that Saturday morning, I was facilitating a meeting of the senior management team, And basically what we were trying to do is get, for the whole week, we were trying to get a capital injection of $9 billion. If we could get $9 billion into, into our account at the Fed before Monday morning, the firm would survive. So we were talking to the Chinese, some of the Chinese banks, would you like to take a stake in Morgan Stanley? They were first interested, and then they said no. By the middle of the week, it appeared that a Japanese company, MUFJ, Mitsubishi, was interested in taking a stake. And by Saturday morning, it was, 60 to 70% sure that they will do it. The due diligence stage was at an advanced stage. Our people were in Japan, their people were here, and all that was going on. And that Saturday morning, everybody's in the office, and John Mack, CEO, secretary, comes up to him and says, hey, John, your phone's... He was walking around, making sure everybody's okay, and his secretary comes to him, hey, John, there's a phone call for you. Tense moments. John says, where's the call? Is it from Japan? No, but it's an important call, John, you got to take it. Is it from Japan? No, John, it's not, but I am not taking any call unless it's from Japan. I'm focused on this deal, and that's all I'm interested in right now, not talking to anybody else. John, I really think you should take the call. Who the bleep is on the phone? Well, this is Wall Street. And when he hears who's on the phone, oh, okay. He calls a CFO and says, come on, call him. Let's take this call. He puts the phone on speaker, lets the rest of his team hear. He doesn't close the door. Who's on the call? Hank Paulson, outgoing Treasury Secretary, is on the line. Obama has won the election, but he is not yet president. Bush is still in the White House. So outgoing Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson is on the line. Ben Bernanke is on the line. Incoming Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner is on the line. You're the CEO of a bank in the United States. You get a call from these three people. It doesn't get bigger than this. So John says, call him, come sit here. Puts a phone, Polycon on speaker. Says, gentlemen, what can I do for you? Tim Geithner is doing most of the talking. Says, John, bottom line is, we got to find a solution for your firm before Monday morning. We cannot have the markets open on Monday morning before finding a solution for your firm. John said, with due respect, translate. What do you mean, find a solution? So we can't have the markets open on Monday morning and you guys going down because then the whole market would go into a tizzy if you guys go down. By the way, I forgot to tell you another interesting tidbit. Just before this call, an hour before, Lloyd Blankfein, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, calls John Mack. Now, these are arch-rival firms, right? And here's what Blankfein says to Mack. John, hang in there. Please hang in there because I'm just 20 seconds behind you. Meaning if you go, I'm going in 20 seconds. Goldman Sachs is at an all-time low of $49 also at this time, by the way. Anyway, so he says, translate. He said, no, we got to find a solution. So, well, what do you think I've been trying to do all this while? We have been trying, we haven't slept in a couple of weeks. We're trying to find a solution. I have a 70% chance that before 9 o'clock on Monday morning, we'll get you a $9 billion check. No, 70% is not good, Tim Geithner says. We need a solution now. I say, what do you mean? Sell the firm. So, well, I talked to Vikram Pandit in Citibank. He doesn't want to buy us. I talked to Wells Fargo. They don't want to buy us. I talked to the Chinese. They don't want to buy us. I talked to Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan. He doesn't want to buy us. And now the Japanese are interested, so let us do our work, please. No, 70% is not good enough. Sell the firm. So I told you, nobody's willing. They are the only guys we have. Call Jamie Dimon again. He'll buy you. We've talked to him. He'll buy you. Then it hits, John gets the idea, what's going on here. He says, okay. With shaking hands, he puts the phone on mute. Takes a few deep breaths with a shaking hand, he puts the phone on. Gentlemen, do you understand the societal impact of what will happen if I did what you said? They were saying he'll buy you, but what they weren't telling him is that he'll buy you for $1. Just like what he'd done with Bear Stearns a few months ago. Meaning, all of us employees will not only just lose our jobs, all our savings will be down to zero. Says, do you want me to put 41,000 people on the jobless streets, adding to the woes of the economy that are already here? You want me to add 41 more jobless people on the streets here? That's what you want me to do? Have you thought of the societal impact, John? He asked. John, this is not about you and your 41,000 people. This is about 325 million people. This is about the global economy. Don't be selfish. Do what we are saying. And by the way, this message is from President Bush. What is a bank CEO to do when three of the most powerful people in finance are carrying a message from the most powerful person in the world saying, we want you to sell your firm at $1? Again, with a shaking hand, he puts the phone on mute. He looks at everybody who's standing at the door, his entire team, and he does something like this. And then again, he looks at his CFO. With a shaking hand, he puts the phone on and says this. Face is red, stress. And he says with a shaking voice, gentlemen, what you are doing for this country makes you patriots. I salute you and admire you for that. Your job is to save the country, and please, you continue to do that. My job here is to work for Morgan Stanley and to get the best interest for Morgan Stanley, and I might take this firm down, but I'm not doing what you're telling me to do. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Bye-bye. And he puts the phone down. 30 seconds is all he took, maybe less than 30 seconds, to make the most important, the most riskiest, the most scariest decision of his life. And he does not talk to anybody. Hey, what's your advice? What's your feedback? What do you want me to do? What do you think? What's your analysis? He didn't do any of that. In less than 30 seconds, he made the most important, the most scariest. The repercussions of this having gone wrong, you can imagine what could have happened to him. Because if he goes down, then Goldman Sachs goes down, then AIG goes down, then it goes to Europe, then it goes to Asia. It was going to be financial Armageddon, if it wasn't already so. You can imagine. The question I ask you all here is, how was he able to make, with such conviction, in less than 30 seconds, the biggest decision, the riskiest decision of his working career? Clearly, his entire career of working on Wall Street and banking had not prepared him for this moment. How did he make that decision that quickly? Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already guessed, or actually I think most of you have guessed, he asked himself 2 questions, and the answer was crystal clear to him. Question 1, what is my purpose? And if I acted according to my purpose, what would I do right now? My purpose, the answer, my purpose is to do the best there is to do for Morgan Stanley. Question number 2, I have personal risk here in disobeying the authorities and doing what I think is right for my company. If I acted according, so the risk is I could go to jail. I'm disobeying here. Question number 2, if I acted according to my values right now, what would I do? Answer, 41,000 people and their families have put their trust in me at the time they need my leadership the most. I'm going to stand by my people. I'm not going to sell them short right now. In 30 seconds, with those 2 questions, he was able to make that decision. And the rest is history. We survived on Monday morning, and Morgan Stanley is still thriving. Today, the stock price is about 36, 37, well recovered, well on the way to profitability. That's basically what it is. So clarity of values, clarity of purpose gives you the power, gives you the empowerment that nobody else can give you. So whether you believe in all the science or not, some things are very clear in these 2 days. You want real empowerment, only you can give it to yourself, and there are 2 confirmed sources of that. That is clarity of values, clarity of purpose, and increasing evidence that there might be a third, and that might be right here in our mind, which we have to learn to tap into, and I leave that to your judgment. I told you this is going to be not a formulaic, cookie-cutter, step-by-step self-help program. That third question you will answer for yourself. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this was something that made you think, because that was our intention, and thank you very much for being with us over these 2 days. Thank you very much.